Hello everyone, welcome to MVP Vishwakosha. Today we are discussing 18th October 2025 current affairs. In that first point, that is about India offering the Akash Missile System to Brazil. During October 2025, during the high-level talk between India and Brazil, India has offered its indigenous Akash air defense missile system to Brazil as part of expanding defense cooperation. The discussion also include a possibility of co-development and co-production of defense system, and also this offer is a part of India's broader push to boost defense export and strategic outreach, and especially to nations traditionally outside its core defense market. Okay, very important. You should know about Akash missile. It is a helps assess the suitability and strategic weight of that offer, and also Akash is a medium range mobile and surface to air missile system developed by DRDO. Okay, and also it is used in by both Indian Army and Indian Air Force. Its range is almost 25 kilometer, and also altitude it will designed to interception in the medium altitudes, and it's radar guided, that is command guidance, has mobility tracked wheeled vehicles to protect formation, key installation, etc. And also India tested Akash Prime variant in Ladakh high altitude in 2025, successfully intercepting high speed unmanned aerial targets. Okay, very important that defense and diplomacy, strategic outreach, and Atmanirbhar Bharat defense export, and South-South cooperation leveraging non-alignment balancing, great power influence, co-production, technology sharing, geostrategic signaling, all that perspective, it is very important. Okay, so that is about recent that India offered to Brazil, that is Akash missile. Next news that is about IUCN World Conservation Congress 2025 event in UAE. Okay, that is Abu Dhabi, that concluded. So here that IUCN International Union for Conservation of Nature, the Congress is its flagship global gathering held every 4 years once, and serves as a decision making and policy shaping forum for nature conservation worldwide. The forum open sessions, dialogues, thematic panels, workshops where diverse stakeholders, that is governments, NGOs, scientists, indigenous group, youth, business interact, and also member assembly, that decision making arm of IUCN, where motions and proposals are debated and voted on resolution recommendation, and also that guide IUCN's work for the next term, and also exhibition, side events, summits, and all. So the Congress was held from 19 to 15 October 2025 in Abu Dhabi, UAE, under the theme Powering Transformative Conservation. Okay, very important theme, that powering transformative conservation. The first time the Congress has been held in that GCC, that is Middle East region. Okay, and also to understand its important place of broader environmental policy contest, that is biodiversity crisis, climate nature nexus, calls for equity, inclusion, rights of nature, and finance, innovation, governance, diplomacy, and soft for all that perspective. It is very important. And some of the key outcome are highlight that adaptation of resolution motion, strategic visions, or 147 motions were passed. So Abu Dhabi called to action, unified voice, and integration of new issues and themes, that right of nature and business law and biodiversity transparency, and launch of announcement initiative projects, and scale of participation, commitment and momentum, but risk implementation gaps. All that perspective, it is very important. Okay, so that is about recent that country that hosted IUCN World Conservation Congress 2025, UAE, Abu Dhabi. Okay, next point, that is about recent news, that is of breakdown of state of finance of forest 2025 report, that is by even EP. Okay, so that is it is a report that is published by United Nations Environment Program in October 2025, assessing global financing flows of forest, that is protection, restoration, sustainable management versus what is required to meet global forest goals. And also the title with subtitle is a State of Finance of for Forest 2025, that unlock, unleash, realizing forest potential requires tripling investment in forest by 2030. And also it was launched in a high level event. There is alongside another report, that is high risk of forest, high value returns. Very important. Some current findings needs in 2023 global annual finance directed out of forest is estimated USD 84 billion. Okay, to meet global forest goals, annual funding need must triple, that is US 300 billion by 2030. Very important in composition of current finance and misaligned harmful incentives, efficiency and priority of protection versus restoration, and geographic and ecosystem focus and high risk forest and call to action recommendation. The report calls for tripling forest investment by 2030. Very important, that one, and also six-fold increase by 2030. In this, important that aligning finance with forest and climate goals and policy reorientation and incentive realignment. Role of multiple finance sources and instrument focus on high risk and high value forest equity governance, stakeholder inclusion, global diplomacy, climate and biodiversity integration, risk of inaction and failure to meet goals in specific point or all that perspective. It is very, very important. So that is about a recent report, that state of finance for forest 2025 report, that is released by UNEP. Next point, that is about recent first flight, maiden flight of the HAL Tejas Mk1A. Okay, so the Tejas Mk1A, that is Tejas, right, is India's light combat aircraft developed HAL, that is Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, and ADA, that is DRDO. It is earlier variant MK1, MK1A, future MK2. AMCA are the parts of India's push for indigenous air combat capability. So in that, MK1A is an upgraded variant over the base MK1 with about 40 plus improvements, better avionics, electronics, warfare suit, improved radar, more weapon flexibility, all that in-flight refueling and better maintainability. Indian Air Force has placed a large order of 180 Mk1 aircraft to upgrade its fleet. So in this recent that HAL Nashik facility, first Tejas Mk1 built successfully completed its maiden first test flight. The event included water cannon salute to mark the occasion. It was unveiled by the presence of Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, who also inaugurated new production lines. So at Nashik. However, formal induction into IAF will follow after pre-induction trials, weapon integration, radar, avionics test. Okay, this milestone in India's defense manufacturing. Nashik becomes the third LCA production line, augmenting capability and decentralizing production. So in this, what is the first flight implies that production maturity and capacity ramp up and validation of design and system strategic autonomy and defense and capability upgrade for IAF. Okay, in that supply chain and industrial growth, all that perspective, it is very, very important. Okay, so that is about the event, that first stage is MK1A from HAL Nashik facility completed maiden flight. Okay, next news, that is about recent, that is Sundarbans Aquaculture Model, same wins FAO Global Recognition. So the sustainable aquaculture in mangrove ecosystem, same model developed by NGO Nature Environment and Wildlife Society in the Sundarbans region of West Bengal has been conferred global technical recognition by the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, of the United Nations. The recognition was given during the FAO's 80th anniversary celebration or World Food Forum held in Rome. The model is community-based in nature integrated aquaculture approach aiming to balance livelihood shrimp farming and with mangrove conservation, climate resilience and ecosystem sustainability. So in this integration of mangroves in aquaculture ponds, that same mandate maintaining 5 to 30% mangroves coverage within and around aquaculture ponds. This helps preserve mangrove ecosystem functions even within farming system, and also use of mangrove later as a natural feed subsidy to feed web and reduce the chemical or input cost and implementation scale, economic impact, ecosystem and climate social eco benefits. All that perspective, it is very important, and also validation and global visibility, bridging livelihoods and conservation, climate resilience and adaptation in coastal ecosystem, cost efficiency and reduced environmental externalities, stability potential. All that perspective, it is very, very important. Okay, so that is about recent same, that is sustainable aquaculture in mangrove ecosystem model, that recognized by FAO, that is Global Technical Recognition. Next news, that is about recent, that is India planning to import more LPG from USA. So India's state refineries, okay, that is Indian Oil Corporation, BPCL, HPCL, have issued or plan to issue a joint long-term tender, okay, that to import about 2 million metric tons of LPG from US for delivery in 2026. Okay, it aims to have 10% of its cooking gas, that is LPG import sourced from US starting in 2026. To facilitate this shift, India has extended the deadline for its first US LPG tender to October 17, 2025. And also the shift apart a broader intention of diversify energy imports, reduce dependency on Middle East, and support India's trade negotiation with the US. And also in 2024, more than 90% of India's LPG import came from traditional Middle East suppliers, that is UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and also some Middle Eastern suppliers that UAE I know have already started incorporating US LPG cargoes into shipment to India, and also partly due to trade shift and China's tariff moves, very important diversification of supply risk and trade diplomatic leverage, bilateral agreement, arbitrage, market opportunity, strategic autonomy, energy security, balancing pressure, strategic optics, competitive pricing advantage, all that perspective it is very important. So that is about recent target US share of in that LPG import 10% by 2026 India's plan. Okay. So next news that is about recent the scheme for innovation and technology association with the Aadhaar that is launched by Uday. So that's a scheme for innovation and technology association with the Aadhaar SITAA launched by Uday, that is Unique Identification Authority of India. Okay, purpose main to foster the security, robustness, and resilience of other authentication system, especially in the face of evolving threat like deep fakes, biometric spoofing, and presentation attacks, and also foster indigenous R&D innovation and identity technologies. So in that, the scheme invites startups, academia, industry players to propose and develop technologies in areas such as face liveness detection, and also a presentation attack detection, that is detecting adversarial fake input in biometric authentication, and contactless fingerprint authentication, and some pilot change mode. This initial phase is organized in as innovation challenge pilot calls, where entities can submit solution for a particular problem statement, and also partners, strategic collaboration, that Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, startup hubs, technical mentoring, and NASCOM, industry connection outreach, and also timeline application window for the pilot application open until November 15, 2025. So why with this biometric authentication increasingly used, right, in other transaction threat for deepfakes, presentation attacks, hoping are rising to maintain trust in the system, with the aims to prevent that counter attacks. Okay, in that very important that strategical technical policy relevance, strengthening trust and security in digital identity, promoting Atmanirbhar Bharat, indigenous R&D identity, all that perspective it is very very important. So that is about recent that SITAA, that scheme for innovation and technology association with Aadhaar, that is launched by Uday. Next news that is about recent that approval of for Adani Power to use Connect Supply India. Okay. That is particularly concerned with the Godha power plant. So Indian government has approved Adani Power Limited. Okay. So that is APL to lay an overhead transmission line to connect its Godha Ultra Supercritical Thermal Power Plant, Jharkhand, to the Indian national grid via line in line out configuration using existing Halgan Mehta, the 400 kV line. So until now, the Godha plant has been supplying electricity exclusively to Bangladesh and the cross-border power export arrangement. So the approval include granting APL posts like Telegraph Authority and Telegraph Act 1885 to close to maintain transmission lines post over across immovable property. The Ministry of Power order uses Section 164 of the Electricity Act 2003 to confer these rights for a period of 25 years, and also the transmission line route will pass through 56 villages across the Godha and Koryat tehsils in Jharkhand. Okay. Important regulation changes, amendments have been made. Several power sector framework enables connectivity. The guidelines for import export of electricity have been amended, and also Central Electricity Authority has amended procedure for cross-border power flows, and also Central Electricity Regulatory Commission has adjusted rules on general network access for the interstate transmission system. Okay, better utilization of capacity and meeting domestic demand, balancing cross-border export commitment and domestic priority, all that perspective is very very important. So that is about recent news, that is about Godha plant, that is Adani Power is being allowed to connect into India's grid via LILO arrangement using Halgan Mehta, that is 400 kV line. Next news that is about recent state of mining readiness index. So the state of mining readiness index, that is the Ministry of Mines. Okay. So formally released the India's first state of mining readiness index along with the state rankings, and also SMRI was announced a part of Union Budget 2025-26 promise aiming to benchmark and incentivize state level reforms in the mining sector, and also the index focuses on non-coal minerals, excluding coal, and also rank states based on their readiness to implement mining reforms, operationalize mines, promote exploration, and ensure a sustainable practice. And also state are grouped into three categories based on their mineral endowment. Okay, and also category A, B, C. A category is mineral rich state, that is Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat leads this group. Category B, moderately endowed, that is Goa, Uttar Pradesh, Assam are in this top in this group. Category C, low minor endowment, that is Punjab, Uttarakhand, Tripura are leading states in this group. Very important that Uttarakhand performs was attributed to reforms such as e-auctions, digitalization and mining operations, satellite monitoring of illegal mining, strengthening the e-Ravan system. Okay, all that perspective very important that SMRI evaluate states on four broad dimensions: auction performance, early mine operationalization, exploration thrust, sustainable mining practice. So all that perspective, that categorization A, B, C based on mineral law, environment, all that perspective is very very important. Okay, so that is about recent news, that is state mining readiness index, that is by 2025 Ministry of Mines, that is Government of India. Next news, that is about last news, that is recent clashes between that Pakistan and Afghanistan in that 2-day ceasefire, right? Tension plagued again along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border. Pakistan reportedly carried out cross-border strikes in southeastern Afghanistan. Okay, targeting alleged militant hideout, and also Afghan authority accused Pakistan of bombing residential areas and breaking the rules. And also in response, Afghan force claimed to have killed around 58 Pakistan soldiers in overnight operation. Pakistan in turn acknowledged casualty but gave a lower figure, said reportedly. It is showing Afghan post. Pakistan suffered a suicide attack near the border that killed 7 soldiers and all that. Pakistan has closed multiple border crossing, and also a bid to de-escalate. Both countries have extended ceasefire beyond 48 hours, and to peace talks are expected in Doha, Qatar. Also, Afghanistan Taliban government officially accused Pakistan of violating the ceasefire, warned of a retaliation, demand respect for Afghanistan's sovereignty. So in this background, that center of militant group legacy border Durand line issue, power dynamics under the Taliban regime, domestic security pressure with Pakistan, geopolitical and diplomatic positioning, all that perspective, it is very very important. Okay, so that is about recent on that news about Pakistan Afghanistan clash. Okay, news. That is about 18th October 2025 current affairs. Thank you. Support me for further videos so that I can analyze all the topics required for UPSC and all competitive exam. Thank you.